I am genuinely so excited you're joining me today because, well, we're tackling one of the absolute greatest daydreams of all time. We've all been there, right? You're sitting around, someone asks what superpower you'd want in real life, and somebody inevitably smiles and says, "Oh, I want ice powers. I want to be exactly like Iceman from the X-Men." And you know what? It's totally understandable. The fantasy is just incredibly fun. You imagine throwing these epic snowballs that hit like a freight train, or cooling down a warm soda in 3 seconds flat, and of course, gliding through your neighborhood on those magnificent sparkling ice slides. It sounds clean, it sounds stylish, and honestly, it just sounds wonderfully convenient. But today, we are going to look at the actual source material and the real-world science behind those powers.
I want you to really put yourself in the shoes of Bobby Drake for a second, Marvel's Iceman. What if, tomorrow morning, you actually woke up with these exact canonical abilities? You aren't just getting a cute little parlor trick here, you are getting the full Omega-level mutant package. Now, that classification means your powers essentially have no definable upper limit. None. But as we peel back the slick comic book art, the witty quips, and that warm Saturday morning cartoon nostalgia, we uncover something deeply, deeply unsettling.
Okay, let's dive into this. Because that expectation of a fun, endless snow day? Yeah, it's a complete lie. The reality is that having the true power of Iceman completely erases your human life. It is not just a superpower, it is the literal thermodynamic catastrophe, a biological nightmare, and straight-up existential horror. If you've ever daydreamed about having this ability, well, you are about to discover exactly why you would instantly and deeply regret it.
Section 1. The Physics Trap and the Lie of Cold.
So, to understand why this power is actually a curse, we really have to dismantle the absolute biggest misconception in all of superhero fiction, the idea that Iceman creates ice. It's scientifically false. In real-world physics, there is literally no such fundamental force as cold. Cold isn't some physical substance you can just spray out of your fingertips like water from a garden hose. By definition, temperature is simply the measurement of kinetic energy. When things are hot, the molecules are moving violently. When they're cold, they move sluggishly. Therefore, you aren't generating ice. You, my friend, are a sentient thermodynamic anomaly. Your actual power is the instantaneous absolute extraction of thermal energy from your environment.
And you aren't just making things a little chilly, either. You are dropping the ambient temperature all the way down to near absolute zero. That is, minus 459.67 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, in real physics, energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred. So, when you violently suck thousands of megajoules of heat out of the air in a fraction of a millisecond just to make a cool ice sculpture, the sudden drop in temperature causes the air to instantly contract. You're creating a massive, localized vacuum. The warmer surrounding air collapses into that void at supersonic speeds. The result? Ear-shattering atmospheric implosions and violent microbursts of literal hurricane-force winds.
And this brilliantly illustrates what happens to the physical world you interact with. If you try to create an ice slide down a city street, you aren't gracefully patrolling your neighborhood. Not at all. Because of something called cryogenic embrittlement, the extreme temperature drop causes materials to completely lose their tensile ductility. The asphalt beneath you doesn't just freeze, it cracks and crumbles into powdered gravel. Water pipes buried underground instantly rupture as the liquid inside them violently expands. Literally, every single step you take leaves behind millions of dollars in catastrophic infrastructural destruction. You basically become a walking natural disaster.
Section 2. The Biological Nightmare.
But here's the thing. The devastation outside your body is absolutely nothing compared to what is happening inside your own skin. For years, fans assumed Bobby Drake was just a normal guy wearing a cool suit of biological frost armor. But then, writer Scott Lobdell fundamentally changed the lore in Uncanny X-Men issue 314. When the telepath Emma Frost took over Bobby's body and unlocked his true potential, she revealed a truly horrifying reality. Your human body does not exist when you use your power. Your heart, your lungs, your brain, your entire nervous system, it is all completely converted into organic, sentient ice. You are not a human wearing ice. You are a conscious block of crystalline matter held together by sheer willpower.
And because your baseline biology is now fundamentally tied to absolute zero, you suffer a permanent loss of basic physical sensations. You are locked in a sensory vacuum. When your nerve endings freeze, the very channels that transmit pain, texture, and sensation completely shut down. You can't feel the softness of a warm blanket. You can't taste a warm meal without turning it into frozen sludge in your mouth. You can't even feel the gentle breeze of summer on your skin. You are completely isolated behind a literal wall of sub-zero ice.
Now imagine what happens when you take damage in this state.
If you get shot, a chunk of your chest simply shatters into crushed cubes. In the comics, Iceman has been completely decapitated, even shattered into hundreds of thousands of microscopic pieces, scattered across the floor like dropped glass. But here is the massive catch: you do not die. Instead, you have to endure the visceral, brain-breaking psychological trauma of watching your own disembodied eyes look back at your headless, pulverized torso while you agonizingly force your microscopic molecules to reassemble back into a human shape. You realize you are no longer flesh and blood. You're an elemental ghost haunting a shell of frozen moisture.
And the tragedy of this extends directly to everyone around you. Human touch relies on warmth, comfort, and a heartbeat, but your active ice form guarantees instant third-degree cryogenic frostbite to literally anyone you touch. If you reach out to hold someone's hand and you suffer one tiny subconscious slip of concentration, a flinch, a sneeze, you will instantly freeze the moisture inside their skin cells. The water expands into microscopic shards, puncturing their cell walls from the inside out. In less than 3 seconds, the tissue of the person you love will turn black, necrotic, and completely die from cellular lysis.
Section 3. The Omega Threat. The horror scales up to a cosmic level here, because you aren't just limited to the physical shell in front of you. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is looking at these different states and the resulting psychological nightmare. Because ice is just the solid phase of water, you can actually merge your mind with the ambient moisture in the atmosphere. But consider the psychological toll. Our human brains evolved to inhabit a single body. If you dissolve into vapor or create an army of 100 ice clones, your mind is stretched across weather systems, operating like a hive mind. Staying anchored to your human personality when you are quite literally part of the global hydrosphere requires an exhausting, round-the-clock act of mental will just to prevent your identity from simply scattering in the wind.
And if that metal will breaks, well, the consequences are apocalyptic. We actually saw this during the Apocalypse Death Seed storyline, where a corrupted Iceman effortlessly brought the Earth to the brink of extinction. Let's walk through what I call the subconscious extinction reaction. Look, human beings are emotional creatures. We get angry, we have nightmares, we have panic attacks. But if you have a nightmare and your subconscious drops the planetary temperature in response, you could halt global ocean currents in a matter of hours. You could freeze the nitrogen and oxygen right out of the sky, causing the very air to fall as liquid nitrogen rain. A single moment of unpoliced emotional terror turns your subconscious into a weapon of mass extinction.
Section 4. The Psychological Toll. Carrying a literal world-ending weapon inside your own ribs leads to a devastating mental prison. I mean, how do you live a normal life when a heated argument with a friend could crystallize their lungs? The answer is right here in this timeline comparison. For decades, Bobby Drake was famous for being the goofy, slacker-class clown of the X-Men. But that humor wasn't immaturity, so the crucial point is, it was a deliberate, desperate psychological safety lock. He acted like a harmless kid to protect the universe from what he could become. And we know this for sure, because in the alternate Age of Apocalypse timeline, where he never developed that humor, he embraced his power entirely. The result? An emotionless, translucent, unfeeling monster who views living beings merely as collections of warm water waiting to be frozen. You either spend your entire life pretending to be a harmless idiot, or the cold takes over your humanity completely.
Section 5. The Curse of Biological Immortality.
But let's say you manage all of this. You control the physics, you endure the body horror, and somehow you maintain your sanity. Let's move to this timeline and see how this builds, revealing the final tragedy waiting for you. Because your physical form can seamlessly transfer between moisture molecules, biological aging simply ceases to apply to you. After 50 years, you watch your parents, your friends, and your partners grow old and pass away, while you remain permanently frozen in time. Fast forward 500 years, just like the future comic entity known as Sir Robert, and you are locked in frozen isolation, having outlived literally everyone you ever knew. Jump ahead 5 billion years from now, when the sun expands and boils the Earth's oceans, your scattered, vaporized consciousness will just drift through the vacuum of space, sentient, indestructible, and utterly, totally alone in the dark.
Which brings us to our final reality check. After seeing the thermodynamic devastation, the permanent loss of human touch, the terrifying mental burden of omnipresence, and the absolute isolation of outliving the Earth itself, would you still trade your normal, fragile life for an eternity in a crystalline cage? When you really dig into the source material, it becomes profoundly clear. Being a mortal human being who can enjoy a hot cup of tea, safely embrace the people you love, and live a beautifully temporary life with a beating heart is infinitely better than the icy alternative.
Please like and subscribe.